Liberal Dan Radio presents
Fat Man Rant!
Last night on my podcast, I went over the Supreme Court rulings from yesterday, and when I got to the part of the student loan forgiveness overturning where they discussed how Missouri got standing, I got a little heated and decided that it would make a perfect Fat Man Rant. So instead of rehashing what I said, here's what I said. The state of Missouri is making the argument that they are entitled to student loan fees, that they're entitled to the money that they get from our student loans. I want to repeat that another time because I want to be very clear that everybody understands the argument that's being made by the state of Missouri and the argument that was accepted by this activist conservative Supreme Court. The way that they were able to weasel their way into standing here was that they argued that if these loans were discharged, that the state of Missouri would be harmed because if these loans were canceled, they estimate that they would lose money because they no longer get the fees from servicing these loans from this public corporation that Missouri created to service these loans called MOHELA. You're not entitled to these fees. You don't have this entitlement for these. If all student loans went away tomorrow, you're not entitled to them. If everybody, all of a sudden, who had student loans working, that has their student loans through MOHELA, decided to go work in the public sector and worked in the public sector for 10 years and got all of their loans discharged, MOHELA would lose all of their fees immediately, and they would lose all their money coming in. You're not entitled to these fees. Like, the conservatives want to talk about that liberals have a sense of entitlement. This is entitlement right here. This is extreme entitlement. They talk about people being leeches off the public dole. This is being leeches off the public dole. This is conservatives sucking the money out of the, they're talking, I already made the hypocrite of the week for next week. Maybe I should redo it. Because this is, the Republicans are wanting to say, maybe I should make two hypocrites of the week next week. Because maybe this should be just a Fat Man Rant. Maybe I should redo this as a Fat Man Rant. Because they are basically arguing that, the working class people shouldn't be working to pay off the student loans of people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. No, what this Supreme Court has done, and what the state of Missouri has done, they've basically said that working class people, especially the people who only have $10,000 or $20,000 left in their student loans, they've basically said that working class people now have to work to send fees to the state of Missouri so they don't lose money. It's the responsibility now, according to Republicans, according to the state of Missouri, to work and pay additional money on their student loans so that the state of Missouri doesn't lose out on fees to service student loans. That's the harm that justified this lawsuit. You want to talk about bullshit? That's a big steaming pile of bullshit right there. You want to talk about a Fat Man Rant? I do Fat Man Rants. This is probably my biggest Fat Man Rant of them all. That should piss everybody off right there. There's a whole bunch of stuff that this Supreme Court has done this term. And there's probably, since, Trump took over and they can't, there's a lot of stuff. Roe v. Wade getting overturned, crap. The ruling today that basically allowed the legal discrimination against LGBTQA folks, crap. But this is definitely top 10 BS. And it just exposes the Republican hypocrisy right now. And I hadn't heard this. on any of the news channels. Not one. Not one news channel talked about this. None of them. Not one news channel today talked about the reason why Missouri was able to claim they said, oh, because of MOHELA, but they didn't go into why. I hadn't seen it. Maybe they did, but I watched it all day today and I had it in the background. I didn't see why, and I'll call her. I'll get to you in a second. They didn't get into this level of detail. That's why y'all listen to me, right? Because I get into this level of detail. I dig in deep, and I will tell you why this is the case and what the problem is. These Republicans are full of crap because they're going to wave your hands and they'll have you not look at the man behind the curtain. They want the working class people to continue to pay on their student loans to make sure the state of Missouri can collect $44 million a year worth of fees. It's bullshit. So there you have it. The only way that they were able to manufacture harm for the state of Missouri, and none of the other states that were involved, none of those other states were able to establish any sort of harm whatsoever. But Missouri was able to manufacture harm with this activist conservative Supreme Court, was to make up the fact that MOHELA was going to lose out on fees that it collects from servicing these federal student loans. And they believe that they're entitled to those $44 million of annual fees it collects from the federal government for servicing federal student loans. And if the Biden administration was able to forgive those loans, guess what? It no longer gets those $44 million worth of fees as they calculate it. Now, the Republicans are lying to you. They're saying, oh, the Democrats want the working class people to pay off the, rich people's loans. Well, the people who have, big professional degrees, they probably have much bigger loans than $20,000. So $10,000 or $20,000 is not going to pay off their loans. So those loans are still going to be there. So those loans are still going to be serviced. So the loans that are going away are the loans of the people who have $10,000 or $20,000 loans, the working class people. Those loans would go away. The working class people are the loans that would be helped, the people that would be helped the most by this. So those people who would have been helped the most by having their debt eliminated, their student debt eliminated, they're now going to have to continue to pay it. For why? Because Missouri doesn't want to lose out on the $44 million a year it gets from taxpayers, because these lower to middle income people have to now continue paying on their student loans. That's who this harms. So don't believe the Republicans on this.